are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Amp2.tv presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on amp2.tv. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and we're on one camera. Welcome to Tell Us Your Biz. We're sharing a camera today. We got Freddie going old school on the other side. Brooklyn Cafe Show after hours. It is National Paul Bunyan Day. And if anyone knows what that is, please give us a call live at WWNN 888-565-1470. Somehow I must have missed learning what National Paul Bunyan Day is. Apparently he had a blue ox.
You know who Paul Bunyan is?
No.
You used to chop down the forest tree with the oxen. There's a whole story about him.
Do you know the story?
In the books. Yeah, I grew up with it.
Did he climb up the vine? Is that what happened?
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, Jack and the Beanstalk.
I thought it was the thing that grew on your feet.
That's it.
So I mentioned Preparation H, and she says that's not where it goes. You don't even know Paul Bunyan. How do you know it doesn't go there?
I don't know, Paul's Bunyan.
Paul's
Bunyan.
Paul's
There you
Bunyan.
go. No
Paul's
pun intended.
Isn't that what it is?
But ask Paul if he's got a bunion.
Paul's Bunyan.
No, thank you.
You can tell it's late in the day. We've been hanging out way too long. This is our, third show that you and I have hosted today.
Absolutely.
But we got a great show lined up for you today. I have to tell you, before I came over here, I had to go to one of the local pharmacies. This guy was so amazing. They have these clubs.
How amazing was he?
They have these clubs you can join. You always feel like, oh, if you join this for $5 a month, we're going to save you all this money. And normally it's not worth it, but I went in for 2 things, Freddie, and I walked out with 3 bags. So the guy lays everything out, and he says, all right, if you join this club, I can save you 20%. Like, all right, for $5, you could save me 20%.
Who's this, Costco?
CVS.
Really?
So then he says, and print your receipt, which I never do, to save a tree. Let me see if I can find you more coupons. He saved me $30 off of my CVS bill. Does that tell you how much I bought? Don't even want to know.
I bet you if Freddie and I walked in there, we weren't going to get that discount.
And every time I went to pay, he goes, wait, there's another coupon. Here's another $5. I said, we should get you an award. I said, no, CVS probably doesn't want you doing this. But what a great man he was. So thank you to Noah at CVS over on Camino Real.
Why is he a great man? Because he saved $30.
30, that's a lot of money.
He saved me 50. Are you feeling me?
I think that's awesome. When someone goes in and helps you out, it's all about customer service.
You were just punch drunk.
It's all about customer service.
Which CVS was this?
The one right on Camino and Dixie. Really, really nice. So
we're going to go see him so we can thank him.
I'm telling you, it was well worth it because a lot of times you feel like you're getting scammed. You don't need it. You're just buying a greeting card. That's $20, so
Right.
The greeting cards are crazy. But it was a really good deal. So check it out. You never know. When customer service is at its peak, you know what I think it is? We're so used to not having good customer service that when actually somebody gives you great service, you're almost so surprised and so grateful. You want to talk about it. So kudos
Call
to
his
you.
His manager. If you call his manager, that would go long ways. Susan does that a lot.
Does she?
Yeah, she calls if somebody's great in a store or at a restaurant. As soon as we get home, she'll call the manager and say, you know what, this guy he did his job, but tell us he went above and beyond.
Maybe I'll do that. Good idea. Good morning to you, Richard. All right, so we got to get Paul closer to the mic. Got it.
Well, he hasn't talked yet. He's going to talk now. I got you.
I'm here.
It's National Paul's Bunyan
Day. It's a little hot,
Day.
Rich. It's a little hot.
We've got Paul. I'm going to say Paul Bunyan. Paul Solomon joining us
Paul
today.
Bunyan. Back to the
from
Bunyan.
Luhu Let Us Help You advisors, senior advisors, financial advisors, real estate, helping you navigate the senior scope of what is going on in the community. And so we're here to talk about, Freddie was talking about what's going on in summer. Do things change? Do we have a season here? Are people now going home? And how do we get things in place? So welcome, Paul.
Thank you. It's always great to be here with you guys. Yeah, summertime, it gets quiet here. So it's a good time, actually, where there's open beds in a lot of these communities that don't exist during the winter time. So the family, loved ones, caregivers, they all go away. Everybody has their own families. And they kind of, I'm not going to say they forget about their loved ones, but it's that quiet time of year. So between having beds that are actually open, I get people all the time call me, and it seems like the assisted livings and nursing homes are always looking for patients, for residents. So it's a good time for that. A big thing, though, on the downside of it is who's really looking over your loved one. Is there a caregiver really around here? Because things happen all the time. I'm a big fan of geriatric care managers, of which you can pay by the hour. They have limits where you need to 4 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a week, whatever it might be. But they'll go to doctors. They'll have someone's loved ones in the hospital and you're a long distance. They'll check to make sure everything is being taken care of. So I'm a big fan. They're part of my team. I have a couple of geriatric care managers that I recommend to families just to check in on everybody. Everybody needs to be checked in on.
So I wanted to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought it up because currently I'm in this situation where both my parents are sick.
Mm-hmm.
One went in the hospital, one fell as one was being taken in the ambulance. He fell out of the hospital. She came home from the hospital. Now they're having to deal with their aides, the long-term care policy. If I wasn't here, and I'm here, but they don't give me the information to take care of it because they're still
Right.
taking care of it.
Right.
And I think if I wasn't here and I was in New York and I got that phone call, I couldn't even have the option of going to the hospital. It would totally be out of my control. A geriatric care manager would what? Go to the hospital, call the aides, all of the above?
All the above. They'll go into the house. They'll make sure that everything's taken care of. Is there food in the fridge? Are they eating at night? If there's even a caregiver there, they'll make sure the caregiver is doing their job. So it's really an advocate, somebody to supervise, and they're all licensed. Most of them are even nurses. So they know between medications, they'll talk to the doctors when they're in the hospital. They'll make sure when you're leaving the hospital, everything's taken care of for wherever they're going, whether it's home, assisted living, nursing home. They really are, should be part of a support group of any family.
Well, how do you get the information? Because there's so much HIPAA, and you have to get the information only to the spouse or maybe to the child, and then we talk all the time. The parents say, I'm not relinquishing any control, but yet you need the assistance, and you sit there at home trying to work, saying, I don't even know what to do. So how does that work within HIPAA guidelines?
I guess I'm going to say, I'm not going to say
works.
they get around it, but it works.
Okay.
Yeah, they come in there as an advocate, third party. They know everybody in the hospitals. They know the doctors around town. So they get to know everybody, and everybody understands that they're part of the team to make sure. So, again, a lot of people do the work that they need to do, and then there's people that don't do what they need to do. And here's where the geriatric care manager steps in and makes sure everybody's doing their job and on top of it.
It's real. I love this whole idea because it is so difficult to navigate when your parents are sick and who's in the hospital, who's out, what medications they're taking, who comes home with what, and what the doctors actually tell your parents. Because
Right.
what they actually tell them, what they actually hear, what actually gets conveyed to you are three different stories. You know what you went through. Right? I know what I went through the other Sunday night at 1:30 in the morning with the phone calls, and I still don't actually even know what actually happened and what the next care plan is.
Well, the thing that I like about Paul, I mean, once you're in the battle and you're looking for answers and things like that, I get that. But it's the before planning. I was going to ask you, things slow down for you also down here in Florida in the summer. Is it more advantageous to do it now when there's more time to discuss more option, rather than when this thing is full blown and everybody's screaming bloody murder? What do I do with mom and dad? What do I do? What do I do? And you can't allow that kind of approach because you have to move on to the next person. Is it more advantageous to do it now during the summer?
Of course it is, but like everybody that's out there, pre-planning is the last thing on their mind. So it always comes down to a crisis. I mean, no matter how much you want to talk about it and you try and explain to somebody, make sure you get the legal documents in place. Make sure if you're not going to be here, somebody's going in, making sure there's food, making sure that the caregiver, if you're hiring an aide, making sure they're doing their work. So that's kind of where a geriatric care manager would just be on top of that. But most of my clients, it's crisis mode. Very few, except this lovely family yesterday. It's easier if it's a husband and wife situation where the wife, and it's usually the wife, is trying to take care of the husband. And she knows that he's going down the pathway of dementia, and he's in a daycare center all day. But when he comes home, it's kind of out of control. And this family has money. They're in their early 70s. And she knows that he could live for years with this dementia. And she's scared because she knows that she's going to be taking the brunt of it. And they say that the caregivers can possibly even pass away before the people that are sick because they're just stressed out all day. They're not sleeping. At night's the worst, making sure when they get up at night that they're not tripping, falling, making sure they're not walking out of the house. And that's, it's a sad situation, but that's really what needs to be taken care of the most.
Well, I had a phone call today. A gentleman who watches the properties in Puerto Rico, the Dawn and I met, passed away Saturday. He was 48.
Oh, my
Wow.
goodness.
He had cancer, liver cancer. They went in, they got it out. And then I just got another phone call that what he didn't tell me was that it spread out through his whole body.
Right.
And they did not put anything in place. He leaves behind 3 kids, 3 young girls. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the setup is. But again, the planning wasn't there. Even though he's in Puerto Rico, it wasn't there.
Right.
And usually you're going to end the price if you don't do something. Or even you have a conversation with Paul. You don't know how bad things are until something happens. And if you wait until that something happens, it doesn't mean you can't help people in that circumstance, but it just becomes so much more difficult.
Well, let me ask you, even when you have things in place, my parents have all their documents in place. They've got their long-term care. They've got an amazing aide. But then you're in crisis.
Right.
It's a 12-hour aide. She's on a 24-hour aide. This one's sick. She's taking care of this one. Then they want to go into the second policy. Will this geriatric care manager go in and navigate things as they come up?
Oh, absolutely. And again, they're not there like an aide where you're paying them by the hour for 3, 4, 10 hours in a row. They're really on retainer almost. So you'll pay them X amount of dollars for X amount of hours, and then it's discussed how often do you need them. And again, you being around, you can see things, so you might not need them every day to come in. But when there's an emergency, they can be the facilitator between the doctor, between the hospital, making sure the meds and everything is taken care of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not crazy expensive. It really is not.
You can do it by there. Because here I'm thinking, I get a phone call today, Mom, how are you? I'm getting better. Dad's sick. But we can't get a hold of this one and this one. Now, the caregiver, they're both sick. So now who's taking care of whom? And no one's feeling well enough to actually deal with what needs to be dealt with. So
Right.
this would be an amazing, and they won't give me the information,
Right.
which is fine. But this would be an amazing opportunity to say, you know what, let's call Susie, the geriatric care manager, and let her call the doctor, let her call the aides, let her coordinate everything, and know that everyone is well taken care of.
Right.
That's a win-win for everybody.
It
And
is.
you'll help put this in place.
Yeah, what usually happens, it happened with my own family where if I try to talk to my own parents, they're not going to talk to me.
Right.
They're going to not either tell me everything, they're going to hide things, because I'm a son and they don't want me to know everything. And a lot of the expression is, you'll know when I'm dead. You'll get it when I'm dead. And I hear that all the time. And I said and a lot of the clients, the adult children, I'm like, let me just come in and have a conversation.
Right.
There's no charge for this, but let me come in and let me maybe get them to realize that maybe they'll talk to me. Maybe you'll walk out of the room and let them talk to me and let me see what's going on. And then obviously I'll let you know what's going on of what we need to do. But that's the biggest hurdle. It's the older generation where they want to either keep things a secret, they're embarrassed because they don't have any money left, they didn't plan correctly, and they're embarrassed to tell their children until it's too late. And there's the crisis mode. There's no money left. They're in a house that they can't afford. They don't want to move out of their house, but they need care. And that's kind of the crisis mode that I walk into. And I say, okay, let's try and plan. Let's see what's going on. And me knowing the different people in my world, a lot easier having the phone numbers, people that I trust. Because that's the biggest thing. How many people are going to take advantage of the seniors? Happens all the time. Happened to my own parents, right? Because they were embarrassed. They don't want me to get involved. So they thought they could take care of something by themselves. And unfortunately, there's $4,000 or $5,000 out of their pocket they'll never see again. And they still wouldn't admit that they did something wrong. You know, they're like little kids, unfortunately.
It's the scams. And it's not even everyone if you don't have the money. There are plenty of seniors that have prepared and have money, but they don't want to relinquish the control.
Right.
Because they still feel as if it's like you had with your dad. I can do this. I
My
got
father
this.
died with tons of money in the bank that I can't get to.
Yeah.
I got to go to court. I got to get an attorney. And then with COVID in Puerto Rico running rampant, you couldn't find an attorney. Now you can't find judges. It's just chaos.
Right.
But this all happened because he did not talk to me. Jamon and Juji, the same thing. What is it? I don't want to go into being my father because, but I can understand not wanting to talk to Freddie. I sort of understand where he's coming from. But what happens is they leave things unattended and they say, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. It doesn't work like that in the real world. It just doesn't. No matter how much you think you have this covered, trust me, you don't. And what you don't know is going to hurt you a whole lot more than you realize. And it's unfortunate. You
And
don't have
things
to go
are
through
always
that.
they're always changing.
That's right.
And when you're working, you're up to date on your business, you hope. You can't be up to date on all the other changing variables.
Right.
People may start moving down here. And you can help people, we need to stress this, in Florida. If they're moving to Florida, if they're living in Florida. So if you are a son or a daughter, someone living in New York, and your parents live in Florida, give Paul a call.
Yeah, there's a lot of people from around the country that, you know, everybody lives everywhere else, and then their families move to Florida. They don't want to come to Florida. They have their own roots wherever they're from, and their parents are here, and they just don't want to come down here, but you need the resources. And, you know, everything doesn't have to be expensive, but there's plenty of resources down here. And again, it's trusting the right people. So if, you know, whether you want to talk to an attorney, whether you want to talk to your financial advisor, unfortunately, a lot of those people don't have all the answers. They're not connected.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've tried. And that's how I ended up in the business, being able to kind of coordinate everything, get all the knowledge that I have just based on my own parents. And I saw there's a big void down here of not having all the right information.
And pre-planning is definitely better than being in crisis mode when no one feels well enough to take care of anything. What's your number, Paul?
It's 954-540-6609, or my website is luhuadvisors.com.
I love that. Let us help you. Give us a call at the radio station with any questions that you have. 888-565-1470. Even if you have a glimmer of, I should be doing this for my family, I should be helping mom and dad, just call Paul for a free consultation.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you,
Costs nothing.
when I met you and you and Chuck introduced me to there's actually places where you can put loved ones to get looked at. I never knew that even existed in New York. I didn't know how homes, none of that worked. I didn't know anything. Then I met Linda, who's a social worker and everything in the field. I did not know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I told you how we used to take care of our seniors. Sandwich, television, and see you later.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
Yeah, but when I see clients of ours and friends that are going through this with their loved ones, the stress that it's putting on them in the living situation, because you love your parents, your aunt, your uncle so much, but to be their caretaker and to do that is so difficult. Look who's here.
It's really difficult, and that's kind of why people really need to understand their options too. So you can start with help at home, which everybody wants to stay home, you know, just the rest of their lives just to stay in their house, but things happen. So whether it's home care you're starting with, you want to move your loved one into an assisted living or a memory care because they need more help, or you're moving them into a nursing home, which no one wants to put their loved one in a nursing home, but unfortunately there's a slip or fall,
Yep.
there's a medical procedure done, they go into rehab, and they just physically can't go back home. And there's plenty of things, there's plenty of people that can help you, and or reach out for government benefits. So if it's not cash in the pocket and having to private pay, and if you don't have a long-term care policy, then it's possibly VA benefits or Medicaid benefits, of which I'm pretty fluid on, that I can help you and get you to understand.
There really isn't anything that he cannot help you with. And then he's very honest. If he has to get answers from somebody else, I tell you, I got to get answers from somebody else. But what I like about Paul is he makes having a choice easy. In life, sometimes we don't have choices, or we think we don't have choices. And you struggle, and you go through hard times. Then you try to control things you can't control. I learned that from her. You cannot control things that you cannot control. And like Jordana used to say, oh, the words that she puts up there. But here is an opportunity to get a choice. You don't have to even make the choice. Just learn it. I can't emphasize, listen, the death of the gentleman that happened on Saturday really, really dumps me because I know that he didn't have anything done. I met him. He took care of the houses in COVID. He was a good friend, and now he's gone. Now he leaves that whole family behind. He didn't have a Paul. It's like I tell you, I wish I had met you before my parents left me. You would have changed my whole life. Give him a call. Make a decision that you're going to get a choice. That's the way I see Paul. Every time I see him, I say, there is a choice.
Options.
This is true.
Options. There's a lot of options out there that people just don't know about.
And it's true. Take advantage of the fact that he's coming. And we put Paul on a lot. Because,
We even take him to the baseball game.
but it's important.
I travel.
It's really important that you take advantage of the knowledge that he has. That's all I can say with that.
What's the best number to reach you at in your website?
Yep, 954-540-6609. It's luhuadvisors.com.
And Paul doesn't do all of it, but he has a huge team that will help do all of it, from financial planning to legal to wills and estates to senior care advisors. Placement. What's the best placement for mom and dad? Give you different options for what you need. He's just a great quarterback to organize everything because sometimes it's too much for us to do.
Yeah, and then being a certified senior advisor gives me that balance of understanding the 6, 7, 8 different things that a lot of families are up against. And I touch on all those subjects, but then I have professionals in each situation that come up with, and I look towards other certified senior advisors because of having that certification in the background, the training, and their professionalism, and it's people that I trust. That's who I bring into my circle on things that I can't touch or I'm not licensed to do. That's who I bring in.
Having a team around you is the best. Contact Paul, Luhu Advisors, 954-540-6609. Paul will be with us at the cafe one day this week, or maybe 2. We'll see, because you know what? Every time Paul's around, he meets a family member that needs services, and they didn't know he existed, didn't know they needed it, but yet they embrace you, and there's more than one family member always. Thank you for joining us.
I'm always glad to be here. Thanks for having me, as always.
More to come. We're going to wrap this up. Stay tuned. We've got Ready, Set, Go Beyond with Jordana Foster on the other side of this commercial break. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in a little bit.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production.